everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Talk and Tongue, the weekly quarantine show where I get to talk to my friends near and far to talk about the movies and violence that matters. A little tease. Who knows what we're talking about today? Maybe in an animated Disney movie. No. Have they ever been violent? I don't know. I'm not sure. My guest today, so excited to have her. I mean, I don't know. I've been friends with her. How long now? I'm not even sure. It
30
feels
years?
like 30 years. About 30 years. Katie Pagnucco, everyone. Or, as what she likes to say, cappuccino.
I wish someone pronounced my last name cappuccino. That would be fantastic.
But has anyone ever said that before? You said like they put like a ch in your last name. Like
I would say the most common pronunciation of my last name is Pagnuccio. I get the two C's makes a ch for some Italian names, but the I always find fascinating that they throw in an I in there.
It just makes you sound like more sophisticated, you know?
I feel like I have to put on a heavy, stereotypical Italian accent after that, to live up to it.
Well, good thing for you that this show is all about accents and offending others with trying accents. So here we go. No, we're not going to do it. It's okay. Katie, we've been friends for 30 years. Mm-hmm. And, throughout the friendship, you never actually stepped foot in the pod cavern before until today.
It's true. It's exciting to be here. It's more spacious than I expected, more stalactites and stalagmites,
Yeah.
It's roomy.
Yeah. Thank you. I'm glad we lit a candle for you for once in here. Put a nice, what is they called? What are those oil thingies that I'm talking about that like dispense air?
Infuser.
That's it. Infuser, diffuser.
Crap.
Diffuser.
You got it.
Clearly, we don't have one usually around here.
I love them. I'm not allowed one by my roommate. My life mate does not like smells.
Wait, Vinny doesn't like smells?
He doesn't. And I'm a big smell person. I would say that's our biggest issue. So not too bad. Yeah,
that's
I would
funny,
have diffusers in every room, all sorts of things burning.
That's so interesting. Vinny Francois has been on the podcast before, and we've talked a long time about, I believe, Bumblebee, something not important. But also, he never mentioned he didn't like smells, which I don't know how I feel about him anymore.
Smell is the major theme of that film, so I'm surprised it didn't come up.
Yeah, exactly. Not a robot who can't speak anymore. No, smells.
Yes.
Robot who can't smell anymore. Katie, for the people who don't know who you are, do you want to just tell us what you're all about?
Sure. Yeah. So I live in Montreal. I'm from Sudbury. I love to drop that because I get teased for it a lot, being from such a not positively remembered place in Ontario. I am a biologist. I love science, talking about science, tweeting about science. And when I have a spare minute, I do improv.
Oh, that you're going to say, when I have a spare minute, more science.
Yeah, you need some time off from that.
Live and breathe science. Katie, that's amazing. Like, that's how we met. And, I'm going to break it for people. We haven't known each other for 30 years. I think about 2 years now, I'd assume. I don't know. It's hard to keep track of all the friendships. I have so many friends, guys.
Oh, my God. It's so hard.
It's so hard. I forget where I was going with this after I dropped how many friends I have. But I will say it's interesting to me because, first of all, you're probably the most educated person we've had on the podcast so far. Yeah, I mean, with a real degree and everything, teaching biology, stuff that actually matters. And it's funny because I graduated from biology and psychology. That was my undergrad.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's so funny.
Went through the stereotypical Asian parents thing where they're like, well, you know what? You can either be a doctor. That's it.
Period.
And I'm like, okay, I guess I'll be a doctor. How hard can that be? And it was very hard. Oh, I didn't even try very hard, to be honest, to become one. I knew my heart wasn't in there. And I graduated. I did super well in school. Don't remember a thing about biology. That's the problem. So, Katie, do you find, because I'm very curious about this, because as someone who technically had this degree that says highest honors, biology, psychology, you'd think I'm very smart, but I'm really good at just memorizing stuff for a test. How do you feel about keeping up with that knowledge and just living
Ooh.
and breathing biology every day?
I relate to basically everything you said. Yeah, I was always like good at school. To this day, I think that's my. I don't think I'm that smart. Realizing that was hard because I was always told I was very smart. So I was like, science, that's what smart people do, right? But yeah, I think I'm just a really good computer and a really good, really good at sitting and listening to what I've been told. I'm a good girl. I'm a good little
Wow.
girl.
Yeah.
More than I'm smart.
It's
And
funny because like in school, I remember falling asleep a lot in class, or like in university, you got to bring a laptop to class, and I'm like, I'm gonna fucking watch movies during class. There's a bar on campus. I'm gonna get drunk before class, and it's like, what am I doing?
yeah, I don't remember a ton from undergrad because it was just like garbage in, garbage out, like just memorize and then it was gone. And then when it came time to like teach college, where I'm teaching like very general biology compared to what my higher degrees were in, I'm like, did I learn this ever? I don't remember learning this. Did I delete it or is this all news to me? So it's very interesting.
So you gotta like study like the night before to be able to say stuff to your class, I guess.
Well, I had to. Yeah, when I first started teaching college, I was like, "Oh my gosh, did I learn all this basic biochem stuff in like year 2 because this is not ecology, which is my
Yeah.
degree." So, yeah, I had to teach myself all over again.
And then when you get a question that you don't know the answer to, do you just like completely sideline it?
Well, I always appreciated in undergrad when professors would be like, "I don't know." Because it'd be very like because so much of the time in undergrad you're like these people know everything, they're these gods,
Yeah, how do
and
they
to
absorb that?
yeah, to be like, oh, I don't know. It's like, oh, that's very normalizing. It's okay if I don't know things, you don't know things. There's things that are unknown that no one knows. So I try to keep that very transparent with my students.
I would say that like every question that anybody asks me, I don't fucking know. Don't ask
Does
me.
anyone know?
And then one student raises their hand who's much smarter than me. They're like, well, I know. It's like, no, no, no. You shut up, Susan. Sit down. You don't know.
And that does happen. So I get a lot of students who they all want to be doctors too. And
Oh
that's
God.
so heartbreaking to see because it's like, you're not all going to be doctors. Maybe
That's
you won't want to be. And do you
yeah.
want that? Is that what you're told you want? It's all always so tragic.
It's it kind of brings me to like another part of my life where I actually worked for a university, and I that's how I met Laura, my partner.
Oh,
And it was a whole like I recruited students for the university, and every student wanted to be a doctor, an engineer, when they don't know what an engineer is. Like, as an engineer can be anything. And they wanted to be a lawyer, and that's it. Sometimes a
mhm.
cop. And then one time I got someone who wanted to be taking care of horses, equestrian, like they wanted to just
Wow.
that kind of thing. But that's it. Like it's usually just like doctor, lawyer, and that's it, you know? Um,
And I
and
think
there,
that's just the jobs you know of, right? Like if you
yeah,
think of, like the jobs shown on TV, the
yeah,
jobs that have in culture like a lot of respect, that's just what people know to do. Like I never knew the researcher was a job, like
yeah,
growing up, I didn't have parents who were college educated. So, it's just a poor exposure to other options in
yeah.
STEM and beyond.
TV's bad like that. It just shows you only a few jobs. Like today, I'm
Mhm.
like, I want to grow up to rip someone's head off. I guess I want to throw a spear at someone's throat. I'm teasing it too much. I'll pause for a second. But
Spoilers.
anyways, Katie, what are the other things that keep you positive during the pandemic?
Well, I'm a very intense introvert. So while the pandemic it's a sad, scary times, of course, and you're scared about your health and the health of your family, it's not a good time. But being locked in a room basically for a year, I haven't hated it. I'm no FOMO, no fear of missing out things, and there's literally nothing happening. And so I've been having an okay time,
Hmm.
watching a lot of TV, sleeping in, and knitting. I've been doing a ton of knitting. That's been
Have you always been a knitter?
sporadically. Sporadically. So I haven't done it for years, and I'm like, oh, I should get on that. I've made like 3 sweaters.
Oh,
Uh,
cool.
yeah, it's been a good time. It's very good for my
Do
anxiety.
do they fit?
I wear none of them, but
Oh, wait, did you make them for you and you just don't wear them?
two of them were for me. I'm actually not done the third. I'm making it for Vinny. He made a request, and he's so sweet. Every time he looks at it, he's like, "Oh, it's like magic," you know. So I'm like, "Oh, I
Oh,
hope I
that
hope
is.
it's not a disaster when I'm done."
I feel like you can just give him one of the other two that you don't wear, and that should be good enough, you know?
They weren't great. That's the problem with knitting. You know, even if you're a good knitter, they don't look as good as store bought. They're just all
Oh,
boxy and
I don't believe that, Katie. I'm sure you can open up an Etsy shop soon. You know, that's funny. I haven't like I never knew you were an introvert before, I guess, because you do so much improv. And I know like I guess a lot of people who are introverts are actually do improv. Like that's a thing. And they have a different personality than what they bring on stage. You know, I've known several improvisers where you look at them and they're like, oh my God, look at this person. They're chatty, they're talky, they're punchy, they're funny. And then they get off stage and it's like talking to a wall. Like
mm,
it's like they're a completely different person. I never got that energy from you, Katie. I feel like who you are on stage, although you know cartoony on stage, and then coming back into the real life, you've always been genuine and friendly and stuff. So I always thought you fed off the energy of people.
no, it's so tricky being an introvert and loving performance, right? It feels like they shouldn't go together, but that's how I like to do my I like to play, I like to pretend, and I guess maybe I'm pretending to be a more outgoing person, and that feels good to sort of feel that part of what I could be.
Hmm.
But I have like a couple hours of socializing in my day I can handle, and then just like quiet, just
Yeah,
with my core sort of family I can be with all day. But like a
yeah.
party, don't put me in a party. I
Oh,
look like
you don't
an
want to
alien.
play beer pong or do a keg stand or
Well, see, those
take a
things
hit of
don't
the
require.
bong. Like, you don't want any of that stuff.
I just can't talk. I can do the activities, but like if I have to mingle, anything where I have to mingle, and that was actually a hard thing with science and conferences, which is such an important part of networking and being a scientist. And I was like, I can't do that. I'm broken in
Interesting.
that way.
I've never actually talked to you about your improv coming of age. Is that the right thing? I'm not sure. Like, so did you start improv because you wanted to better yourself in that area?
Well, I've always been a goofy person. Like I like being silly and ridiculous and childlike in my
Hmm.
conversations and just being an idiot and making people laugh. I think that's something I've always had. And I used to do acting in high school. I thought I was going to be an actress for a time,
Oh,
but that's
didn't
not a
we all?
doctor, so
Yeah.
that didn't go over well. Um, and yeah, a friend of mine who was also doing their PhD in biology at McGill at the time, we were both goofballs. We're like, we need to find something, we need to talk to non biologists and
Right.
explore this part of ourselves. And she found the improv school, and the rest is history. So I never did improv until I moved to Montreal.
Wow.
And then it just, like so many people, became a huge part of my life instantly.
Yeah. How long have you been doing it now then?
I believe it was St. Patrick's Day. What year now? 2012, I think I did my
I
first
remember,
drop in.
I love how you remember the day, like the holiday, but not. So, 12 years you said?
It was 2012, so
No,
9 years.
9 years.
Yeah, crazy.
Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah. Dang. Yeah. And
unbelievable.
you've since transitioned. Vinny's talked about improv college and stuff like that on Talking Tongue before, and you're doing online improv and performing online improv. Are you teaching online improv as well, or just more performance?
No, ever since I started teaching full time, my desire to teach improv vanished. It just became too much teaching the things I love instead of doing them.
Yeah.
So I was like, I can't teach two different things and have so much less time to do those things myself. So
Hmm.
yeah, I haven't been teaching improv for a few years now.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess if you're just teaching all the time, like, "Oh, when are you going to be a student again? We're a student of life, baby. Can't be teaching all the time." That's cool. That's cool. I
Yeah.
never knew that. And are you looking forward to going back to the real stage now that you've had like a year of just introvert time and stuff like that?
I I don't believe I would ever play on stage again. Not never, but I love it. I know so many people are so excited to never do online improv again, and I'm like, I never want to stop. I have so much fun with the stupid backgrounds and filters and being in my pajamas.
Yeah.
And having kids, it makes it so much easier, right? You don't have to book the whole night off. And we live in the burbs, so it's always like an hour to get downtown. Like all those barriers to doing things are lifted. And then you get to play with people everywhere in the world. I don't know. I
Yeah.
love it.
That's definitely like such a huge thing about we've talked about like online improv a lot on Talking Tongue before. Usually talk to improvisers on this show, but it's true. Like I think there are some challenges with online improv where you can't, it's harder to connect with people, the timing, just the basic technical mumbo jumbo of something going wrong, or, someone's internet starts cutting out and you're like, what did they say? I don't know how to yes and that and stuff like that. But you're right. Being able, especially like I've been part of a few backdrop shows and like other shows online. It's so cool to play with people that you've never have the chance to play with until you're put into the Zoom room, and I love that for sure. And I empathize with the driving to a show, and I do miss that environment. I do, like, you go to the bar, you get to meet some improvisers and some weirdos, and like you drink and you do all this stuff. But I'm also like, as I get older, I'm so like, I just want to be in bed by like 11:30, and I know the party doesn't start until 12 and then I have to stay up for another 2 hours socializing and stuff, and I'm like, I don't want to do this anymore.
Festivals I miss. Festivals would be something nice to return to.
Totally. I remember going to a show in Toronto where they asked me to perform, and I remember I had like 3 minutes of stage time, maybe. And I live in Kitchener, so it's kind of like hour and a half, 2 hour commute down there. 3 minutes of stage time, wasn't a big audience. Mingle a little bit, go home. I'm home. It's like 1 a.m. and I'm like, what did I do? Why? But I do miss festivals. You're right. Festival, that energy is cool. So we'll see what happens, I guess.
Yeah, it's crazy thinking of like what after times are going to be, and when is that going to be? For so long I think we were all thinking like once you get vaccinated, and now so many people are being vaccinated, and it feels like my life hasn't changed. Like we haven't changed how we live since March 2020.
Yeah, exactly.
Grocery stores, home, outside. That's it.
Yeah, exactly. I guess we'll see. I am looking forward to seeing what happens in the world of comedy and improv later, because so many theaters have shut down, unfortunately, and all these other things. And it'll be interesting to see who wants to take it on, the new generation of what theater looks like. So I am excited to see that. But in the meantime, totally satisfied with just enjoying some online improv in the meantime, All right, Katie, it's time.
Oh my gosh.
Not the movie. We got to talk about some news of the week. I know you're very excited.
So excited.
The news of the week, we just look at pop culture headlines, everyone, that I'm finding on IGN.com. I've never seen these headlines before, so let's find out. Did you watch the Oscars at all?
I did not. I used to be obsessed with them as a kid, like, betting who would win, even though I didn't know any of these movies.
Yeah.
It felt important.
It did. Like, I feel like the Academy Awards have just shifted so much. And over the last couple of years too, where even the last 2 years, there's been no host, quote unquote, no host doing it. And I was someone who didn't care about the Oscars. And then I cared very much about the Oscars, because I'm like a lot of improvisers and performance students out there, we're like, well, I gotta watch my heroes do their thing so I can absorb it, and maybe one day I'll be the one up there on stage, even though I put like a fraction of the work in. And this year, and this might be because we didn't do a top 5 movies of 2020 episode for Rank, because usually we do every year the best movies, but this year I didn't watch any because of the pandemic. And it just felt so like, I don't know, I didn't see any of them. I feel weird about it.
Yeah, same. I don't know. I don't even remember who was nominated. I did look at the nominees. I don't even know why. But yeah, I've seen very few films that came out this year.
Yeah, I saw like the animated films because I'm a big animated nerd. I saw That Borat is Borat.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
That was yeah. The only one that I had like interest in seeing was Minari, which was the Stephen Yeun movie, and I guess I wanted to see Chadwick Boseman's movie too, but I didn't end up seeing that. So yeah, it's just a weird thing, and it turns out like very little people watch the Oscars this year.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Well, it was also like a weird production where there were some people there and some people were zooming in. I think that turned people off as well.
yeah. And then like Laura, she watches it mostly because of the outfits. She loves the outfits. And she cares about the awards to a degree, but she's just like, oh my God, look how pretty that dress is. And okay, you're nodding your head like
Zendaya, am I right? Everyone was gushing over Zendaya's yellow
look
gown.
great. Look great. At least that's what I think. But when it's so interesting because when I was watching just snippets of the Oscars, everyone was pretty close. Like they were socially distanced, but weren't really. And I was freaking out a little bit. I was just like, they're in the public eye right now. Shouldn't they be like further apart? And Laura's like, oh no, like a lot of them are vaccinated already. And I'm like, fucking Hollywood, man.
Well, in the States at large, they're so far ahead of us. What a quick turnaround that was, right?
I know, yeah. So like, of course they're like a little bit closer because they can be. They're like shaking hands, hugging in some parts too. And I'm just like, that is just living in Ontario and like Quebec and stuff. It's Canada. It's just like a different world altogether.
But I feel like it's going to be a while till I feel comfortable doing that again.
Yeah.
No masks that close with people I don't know. I don't know. It's going to take a while for me to be comfortable with that.
Like a month before lockdown happened, I kissed someone on stage. I think it was Angus. I'm pretty sure something like that, and it's just like, I don't know if I can do that anymore without like, I don't know, getting a harassment like suit against me. Like, I don't want that. It's crazy.
Yeah. Everything is totally different now.
I remember like, people licking me on stage and it's like, this just like that weird, I should say like, that's not my wheelhouse in comedy. I'm just not trying to make out with people on stage, but sometimes
the licking comedian. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, it's just interesting. Other things, Rudy Giuliani won 2 Razzie Awards for his Wild Borat 2 appearance.
That was truly upsetting. Like I'd heard about it before I watched the movie, but it was almost... it was just too gross.
Yeah. It's Rudy. No, I don't like it. I'm moving on.
There's no explanation for what happened in that movie other than the obvious one.
Yeah, he's a gross human being, that's for sure. Okay, here we go. This one's interesting. Award-winning bionic eye tech brings us one step closer to living in a cyberpunk world. Thoughts?
I have questions.
Okay.
What is the tech?
Bionic eyes. That's all I have.
Wow. I had not heard this.
Well, neither have I. Okay, so what would you want in a bionic eye?
For it to work, for it to have a red pupil, I feel like that's a good addition, like the Terminator eyeball, something like that. Or Kano. I'm just throwing it out there. For it to be functional, I suppose. That'd be fantastic.
What does like a functional bionic eye even do? Like what is the prime directive, the prime function of a bionic eye?
Well, first of all, is it just replacing a lost biological eye? Or is it advanced? Does it overlay like that thing like the Terminator has that like scans them for information and their identity and all that stuff?
What I imagine is like, even if you have good eyes, take your eyes out. They're old news.
Wow.
They're old news. It's not a contact you're putting in. And I'm just projecting. I have no idea. I only read the headline to this thing. But if there's comparing it to like cyberpunk, that kind of stuff, then yeah, take out your eyeball. Put it in a jar. You don't need it. You put on these bionic eyes instead. What do you want that to do?
Yeah, I guess scan for more information. Yeah, tell me their social insurance number, their credit card information, how much food is in their fridge, where is the fridge, that sort of thing,
Wow. Do you need it to see long distances and things like that? Or what is the red part that you really want in the eye? Like, I don't understand what that's.
Also shoots lasers.
Okay.
I don't know. I've seen future movies. The pupils are red. I'm just going with it. I'm sure there's a reason. Maybe red vision.
Okay,
red
red
lights.
vision. That's like infrared vision, like that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I feel like that's a violation, like of people's privacies.
Well, you're not getting one now. When I invent this, when I invent my red bionic eyes.
Would that be good on a date, you think? Like to have like to be able to
Mm.
see infrared, like if like, you're on a first date kind of situation. You're COVID's over. You're
Mm.
vaccinated. You're
Yes.
about to just get a feeling. Should I go for the over the shoulder move? Should I go for the handhold move? And you trigger a bionic eye infrared to see if
Mm.
their like heart is beating fast, kind of thing. And I guess if it is, you're good to go, or they're
I think it
scared.
could be nervous. Yeah, it could be the opposite.
Okay, so, huh?
And I feel
Yeah,
like you depend too much on it,
it's
right?
true.
Instead of
Yeah,
paying attention to more obvious human cues.
it's true. Well, what if? Okay, well now I'm gonna be gross, but what if,
Go on.
if said person, and you're just checking if if third date happens, is
Mm.
it time to make love
Mm.
and infrared to see if they have a boner or not? Would that be useful on a date?
Again, it could be a nervous boner. I don't
Nervous
know.
boner. Yeah, speaking as someone who's had many nervous boners before.
Frightened boners. Yeah.
Oh God. All right. Well, with that image, let's move on to something more wholesome. Let's see here. Lots of random stuff here. You said you watch a lot of TV. A lot of TV.
Yeah, I feel like I do. Yeah.
What are the things that you're watching right now?
Well, it's a bit of a quiet time. I watch a lot of reality TV.
Okay.
I'm not embarrassed. I'm proud.
Like what? Like what?
Anything that touches the Bachelor franchise, it is garbage, but I still find it fascinating explorations of human behavior. Married at First Sight, that's currently on.
What
Top
is
Chef.
that? What is that? Married at First Sight.
It's exactly what it sounds like. So people sign up, they do like a personality test, and experts, in quotation marks, match people up based on what they're looking for and their personality, and they meet at the altar and they get married.
And they get married right away?
Yeah. And without ever talking to each other. And then they have 6 weeks to decide whether to stay married or get a divorce, which is sort of an arbitrary ending because they could just stay together and get divorced later.
I guess, but it wouldn't be filmed.
Exactly.
Yeah. That's so crazy. And then you just have that on your record forever if you got divorced.
It is a bold move. Like, you must be doing it to be, well, nowadays all reality TV is sort of tainted by this possibility of wanting to just be an influencer. 10, 15 years ago, that wasn't as much the goal. It wasn't as much a career. And so people would genuinely think that this was an idea that could end in something positive.
So that's so funny you mentioned that. This kind of circles back to education and stuff. Laura also has a similar job where she recruits for a university kind of thing. And it's becoming more and more of a thing where we talked about lawyers and doctors and all this stuff, but people legitimately go up and say, I want to be an influencer. Mm-hmm. And it's like, what? What do you want to go to school for? Like, what kind of courses? And I feel like schools are making courses now for influencers, which is like crazy.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Like,
not that.
Sorry, like business, like how to market it? Or
I don't know.
Like,
yeah.
Wow.
I'm not sure. Yeah. I didn't look further into it because it scared me. Because I'm like, what is the world coming to?
Mm-hmm.
But I remember watching this viral video on Twitter, and it was somewhere in, I think, East Asia or something like that, where it was like almost like a robot factory of kids who are young and they're standing in like just really rigid lines. Like it would be like an army kind of thing. And as soon as you put a ring light and something and a phone in front of them, their face becomes animated and they're like selling a thing to you. And then you take the camera away and their face just shuts down and becomes completely mute again. And I'm like, oh my God, it's so scary.
It's wild. And what's really funny with the pandemic and having to teach online, we were all sort of inadvertently turned into influencers. We have to worry about our lighting and our sound and how to be engaging on a tiny screen. And it totally changes how you have to perform and teach to try to cater to these millennials who are used to watching this on their spare time.
If you had to be a true influencer, what would you influence? Like what product you sell in here?
Oh my gosh. What could I sell? Oh my, I can't. I'm a terrible salesperson when I've worked in sales. As you can see, I can't even sell myself. Oh God, here I'm crumbling.
Oh no.
Hair products? I don't know.
Hair products? Okay. I was gonna say, isn't biology the easy thing? But no, hair products.
I don't want to commoditize biology.
That's true. Biology doesn't need it. It's already popular.
Bionic eyes. That's what I'm selling.
Bionic eyes. But the red ones.
Yes, the red ones.
Yeah. Any other TV shows you're watching? Because the news I'm watching this week or looking at right now, they're very timely to specific things. Like, Invincible got renewed. I'm not sure if you're watching that. Great show. The Captain America and the Winter Soldier, the Falcon Winter Soldier just ended. They're talking about the new Dexter show coming out, all these things.
I used to watch Dexter. That was a show that took a very steep dive in quality after a couple of seasons.
I know. Till the end. Yeah, it was like 1, 2, 3, and 4. Amazing television. The rest, garbage television.
Yeah. I mean, I had my issues with Jimmy Smits' character in season 3, but definitely season 4 was amazing. And then, it's just garbage on top of garbage. And it kept getting worse.
Yeah. So did you hear that they're making more Dexter? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So apparently just the headline here is Dexter is going to essentially try to fix and address the ending of Dexter, which I've only ever heard about. I've never even seen it, but did you hear about what happened or did you watch it?
So I gave up on that last season. It might have even been the second to last season where Colin Hanks was the antagonist. I didn't finish that season.
No, that was a thing.
Okay. Yeah, I heard what happened with the show, but I didn't watch the last couple seasons.
Lumberjack Dexter. That's what I heard.
Yeah.
Well, apparently no longer a lumberjack, or maybe he was, and he's back to killing. So there you go.
I mean, he has a kid. I feel like that has to factor in.
Oh, does he in the show?
Mm-hmm. With Rita.
Oh, yes. Oh, my God. It's been so long. It's so hard. I find it so difficult I feel the same way about Game of Thrones, for example, where it's just like, here is television, which is just top-notch quality. Some of the best television you'll ever see. And does it land? No. How do I recommend it now?
Oh, yeah. Game of Thrones, that's a tricky one. So did I guess the last season devastated you like most people?
I'm a little bit easier than some people. I wouldn't say devastated me, but I was disappointed. Will I want to go back and watch it? Not so much anymore, even though I really, really, really like some of the earlier stuff. Like it's phenomenal TV. But the last season was like, I don't want to shit on it more than it's already been shitted on, but it's just like they have really good ideas and they just didn't have enough time to do it, And it's because the showrunners were like, we'll just do it in like 6 or 7 episodes, even though HBO was like, we'll give you as many seasons as you want. And that's just infuriating.
Yeah, I get very involved in a show that has a rich mythology. And when they're building up to something, I get really excited. And when I feel cheated, I get very bitter.
So will you ever go back?
No, that's a show that's been ruined for me forever. Shows like Battlestar Galactica is another one that set up a very rich mythology and kind of fuddled the ending, but I'm more forgiving of that one. But yeah, Game of Thrones, that last season, it very much felt like showrunners that wanted to move on to other things.
Which is crazy because I watched that documentary of the making of the final season. And it was fascinating because the way, and I like watching behind the scenes of stuff that I enjoy, but like the way they talk about how much work gets put into each shot and like all these things. And you got the costume designers and like all these people that you don't get normal shout outs for. And they're talking about how they like designed this battle and stuff. I'm like, they put a fuck ton of work into this stuff and it didn't land. And that sucks,
Yeah. Disappointing.
But you know what's not disappointing? Actually, you tell me. We're talking about the movie of the week. Katie, Introduce the movie of the week, please.
Oh, I'm so honored to introduce Mortal Kombat, the new 2021 movie.
Throughout history, different cultures all over the world reference a great tournament of champions. That dragon marking? I think it's an invitation to fight for something known. As Mortal Kombat.
Mortal Kombat. Test your might.
I wanted to start the show "Test Your Mic," but I forgot.
Oh, that's good. That's good. Well, we have our world
damn.
famous catchphrase at the end, so maybe you can just throw it in there now. Katie, there's so much to talk about with Mortal Kombat. It's been out for a week right now, but I want to start with, why'd you pick Mortal Kombat?
Yeah. This movie and this franchise means a lot to me.
Does it? That's amazing.
The first Mortal Kombat movie is not only one of my favorite movies of all time, it is definitely the most watched movie for me.
What?
The 1995 Mortal Kombat movie, I used to rent it every second day from my local convenience store. And I love it. I know the whole thing off by heart.
Don't you have to be a certain age to rent a movie? Like, or were you just going in there and swiping it?
Well, I think that was the advantage of maybe renting from a convenience store. I think
they don't care. Yeah. They don't care.
Yeah, they didn't care so much. And I was like 10. I don't think it was rated.
Yeah, I don't think you're allowed to rent a movie like Mortal Kombat when you're 10 because of how violent
it was rated. I went with my brother. My brother was older, so maybe he did it. I don't remember the logistics, but I remember it wasn't difficult.
Did you buy like one of those like old taquitos or hot dogs that were on the stand at the convenience store on your way out?
We didn't even have them. This was like a convenience store that was like a converted house, and they had like penny candy and movies to rent and maybe bread, but that was about it. There was no heated foods, no slushies.
Wow, interesting. I have so many questions on that, but let's go back to Mortal Kombat. Mortal Kombat, your most watched movie ever, like basically you said?
The 95 movie, absolutely. I still love it. I made Vinny, my partner, watch it on our first date. I love this film.
Is that like your test kind of thing? Like back in the day? Like I had that with a couple shows that I was obsessed with. It's just like I go on a first date or second date. And now that I think about it, it's just a weird thing to be like, watch this thing as one of the first dates we do.
I love this too.
And then as they're watching, I'm like side-eyeing them just to make sure they're laughing at the parts they should be laughing at and stuff like that. Fucking weirdo like that. But anyways, Sherlock was like that for me, the Benedict Cumberbatch shows.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, Mortal Kombat. Vinny enjoyed it then?
No. I don't think he completed watching it. He wasn't a huge fan. So I guess it wasn't a good test. We stayed together, so.
Wow. You try to test his might.
Just wanted to share it.
How about the video game? Like, did you grow up loving the video game and stuff too?
Yes. So I had the first game on my Game Boy.
Wow.
Everything was green, though. It was hard to tell Scorpion and Sub-Zero apart on that thing. And then Mortal Kombat 2. That one I played a ton.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
I loved those new characters. Very bloody. It was a good time.
That's the beauty of Mortal Kombat. Like, if people don't know, which would be crazy, it's based on the video game Mortal Kombat, Ed Boon. And it's like a beloved franchise that is super violent and gory, but also cartoonishly violent, like so violent that it's like, man, that's fine. And I'm not sure, Katie, if you ever played any of the newer ones or seen clips of the newer ones, but they're like, holy shit, this is violent. And I also think that it still is like, it looks more realistic because graphics have gotten better, but it's also like, it's fine because like this would never happen. Like this person is literally grabbing someone's skull and ripping their whole bone structure out of their skin and the spine is still intact. That's fine.
That's Goro's thing, right? That's the Goro thing?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So it's like, that's fine. What are we talking about here? How about Annihilation? Because Mortal Kombat had a sequel.
Yeah. So I saw that in theaters. I remember taking my little cousin to see that. He was probably too young for that. And being very disappointed It didn't live up to the magic of the first one. And also one of my favorite characters from Mortal Kombat 2, which is where a lot of those new characters came from in the second movie. I don't remember her name. She was like the female Goro.
Oh, yeah. I can't remember either.
It's an S name.
It's been a long time.
Shiva.
Shiva? Oh, that sounds familiar.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, yeah,
I think it is Shiva.
Yeah.
I get her in Sybil. Anyway.
Yeah.
She died like instantly. She had like no lines. She like died immediately. I was so not pleased by that.
Yeah. Well, they kill a lot of people in Mortal Kombat, including in this one, which we'll talk about in a sec. Like in the second Annihilation, they killed Johnny Cage in like the opening
immediately.
sequence.
Also upsetting because he was so funny in that first movie.
He was so good in the first movie. Yeah. And then if you go back, I watched a clip of when Liu Kang, played by Robin Shou, he's just handsome man. I just have to say, handsome Liu Kang. Love him.
Luscious hair.
Oh my God, he's just amazing. And just like the new kid, Ludi Lin, I think it is, big shoes to fill. And I remember when he did, Robin Shou's character did the animality. And if you go back, it's so bad looking. It's just like a CG dragon, but like 1990s technology dragon. Looks terrible.
Yeah, the graphics weren't great.
No. When did you fall off of Mortal Kombat? I guess like the video games and stuff.
Yeah, I don't think I ever played 3. Maybe I did, because I remember the cyborgs. Were they added in 3 or 2?
I think so.
Like yeah, so I've seen that a bit.
And those guys, yeah.
But that was it. That was it.
That was it. Yeah. You fell off because there was like a zillion Mortal Kombats that came after that.
I remember seeing Mortal Kombat X. I'm like, did they really make 10?
Yeah. And there's 2 more after that. So,
yeah, no idea. But I feel like it's a video game that could be a good movie. It just hasn't been made into a good movie yet.
All right. Now we're going to talk. And before we move on to that, I have to say, if you're ever curious, Katie, what I did because I'm really bad at fighting games. I suck at them. I want to be good at them. I want to like them, but you have to put in so much like time and effort. And I'm a variety gamer. I play a lot of video games. So I just like to dip here, dip there, and I'll finish it on my own time. But with fighting games, if you're not playing it all the time, you suck. I hate that.
I will say, if you want to be great immediately, all you need to do is learn the teleport kick by Melina in Mortal Kombat 2, because it is invincible. You can get it so that you're just constantly doing the kick and the other person can never get up.
Oh,
it's
yes.
Not very fun.
Well, I mean, like in those original games, you could just do that sweeping kick over and over again. And it's like back in the day, there's no like cancel animation. So it's just like, oh, you're just stuck in this loop until you're dead. But the Mortal Kombat new stories have been revered as really good Mortal Kombat stories. So I did this for the first one where I would just watch it on YouTube front to back. And they just turn it into a movie. And it's good. It's good. So if you ever have time, I would just recommend anybody out there don't have time to play a video game. Just throw in the Mortal Kombat cinematics. Like they tell a good Mortal Kombat story throughout those games. But this one, let's talk about this one. Katie, you want to give like a summary of it first?
Okay. Yes. So we start by getting the backstory of Sub-Zero and Scorpion, which is a big rivalry behind the story of the game. And we see sort of the origin of Sub-Zero pissing off Scorpion and killing his family. And then we move to the present day where we have an MMA fighter named Cole, who's a new character. We'll get back to that. And he has, he gets recruited by people who have been marked and pre-chosen to be the Earth candidates for the last Mortal Kombat, because they need to win this one or the evil people in Outworld take over Earth.
He is a dragon birthmark.
Yeah, the Mortal Kombat symbol birthmark.
Didn't question it growing up. Yeah.
Which is cool looking. Yeah.
It is cool. I'd love to get one, but I'd have to kill someone to do it. But go on. Yes.
So we get introduced to his new friends. We have Sonya Blade, a good guy, and Jax, good guy, Kano, bad guy, but he starts by working with the humans against Outworld. And they meet up at Raiden's, training facility. Raiden being sort of the god of good versus Shang Tsung, the god of evil.
Yeah.
And they get ready for the tournament.
which we never see, which we'll talk about in a bit. We'll talk about it, but god damn it. Yeah. And then like just fighting happens afterwards.
Yeah, a lot of fun fights. I will give it that. A lot of fighting, get a lot of, rivalries that have been built up. They get to fight. And the ending, which comes out of nowhere. We get to see, we're given all this, I guess this is already spoilery, isn't it?
Yeah.
Scorpion comes back from hell because that is sort of his character. He's a half spirit from hell. And he defeats Sub-Zero. And I found that pretty satisfying.
Yeah.
That rivalry, I think, is very powerful, but so little time was spent on it. And who the hell is Cole? But I'm sorry, I'm getting into my feelings about
okay. Yeah. And then we end with it's just like, hey, the ending's very abrupt. It's just like, I'm going to go to Hollywood. And then you see like Johnny Cage's name and then the movie ends and you're like, what the fuck?
I feel like they shot themselves in the foot at making a good first movie by being like, we're building a franchise.
I know. Okay, so here we go. Let's talk about your excitement coming into the film.
It was tempered by the fact I heard it was terrible. And I was like, I know no one liked the first movie. It's not a good movie. And I loved it. So maybe this will be good in that way. But I was suspicious it was going to be terrible.
Right.
And I thought the opening was great.
Oh my God, so good. Yes. So that's the thing is that's what they showed in the trailers and stuff like that. When I looked at the trailers and when I was just watching just random like reading articles about Mortal Kombat and they're like, we're going to really focus in on the cartoonish violence and also like hand-to-hand combat and we're going to see that and it's like going to be real martial arts and stuff like that. And if that's the case, then they did too many cuts because like in the fighting, it's like, I want to see the fighting. You don't have to keep cutting around because the opening of this movie is really, really good. And it sets it up so well. You get Scorpion and Sub-Zero before they become Scorpion Sub-Zero. And it's just the wide shots and just the fighting and the gore. And it's perfect. And then the rest of the movie happens and it's not as perfect. And it just
should have stopped it there.
I know. And it just breaks my heart a little bit because I was pretty excited for this film.
Yeah. And it's like, well, they know what good can look like. Why did they abandon it?
Yeah. I guess like that's what we should go in like general feelings. And we'll start with you, Katie, like overall, and we can get to like the specific moments that we liked and didn't like afterwards. But like overall, how did you feel about Mortal Kombat 2021?
A step backwards. The CGI, I don't know that it looks that much better than 95, and I always prefer an animatronic over bad cartoon in a movie.
Yeah.
I think narratively they did crappy. There wasn't a tournament, and that's what Mortal Kombat is.
Yeah.
And the acting was bad. And if the acting's going to be bad, at least let me see the fighting. If I can't see the fighting and the acting's bad, what am I watching?
Right. Did you enjoy parts of the movie still, or was it just overall disappointment?
I loved all the Sub-Zero Scorpion stuff. I think you can make a really good like fighting drama movie about them.
Should have been about them.
Like show the before.
Yeah.
Like why do they hate each other?
Should have been about them. Yes. So for myself, I did enjoy the movie and I kind of wanted to go back to it because I rented the movie on Prime. And then I fucked up because like I was like, oh, I watched it the day or the weekend it came out and I was going to watch it again before we did this talk today. But then you only have 48 hours after you play the movie to watch it. You have 30 days to like watch it. But once you play it, you only have 48 hours. And I'm like, that's stupid. I'm not going to spend $50 on Mortal Kombat. But anyways, I think there's so many things to like about this movie in a sense. Cause like it's a video game movie. So I already give it a little bit of like some slack because I know 99% of video game movies are trash. I think there's like one good one and I would argue it's Sonic the Hedgehog. That's a fun movie, but it's good. It's just like, because I feel like video game movies, Hollywood tries to do something where they just put their own spin on it and the spin's always bad, I guess. And they don't really get what's really good about the original source material. Or in this case, they kind of do understand what's good about the source material, but they forgot to build a good story on top of it. Because their trick in this movie was like, look how many characters we can pull out of our hat, you know? And if you don't like play Mortal Kombat or know anything about it, then you don't give a shit like about like Cabal coming into play, you know?
Yes. Or Cole. Why a new character? Like I had to look it up because I know I'm not aware of all the Mortal Kombats 4 through 30, I guess. But he was newly invented for the movie and not a very compelling character.
Oh my God.
So many issues with that protagonist. And he didn't even complete any fights on his own. He always had to be helped by someone else.
So Cole Young, I have big problems with him too, because Louis Tan, I've been kind of rooting in his corner for a little while. I usually do for like Asian actors who are making it in America and stuff like that. Like I just want them to succeed so bad. And I've seen Louis Tan in a few things, and he's a very good martial artist, like not in this, but like outside. And I was like, okay, I'm very curious about his acting, but his acting in this was just, someone described it to me last week. I think, one of our guests on Talking Tongue, that like, it sounds like you can hear the script coming out of him. And that's not a good sign of a good actor, like absorbing it and giving it his own spin. It's just like, oh, he's just reading lines and just spewing it out. And you can feel that in this movie. Terrible line delivery.
But could anyone have done better? Like, what was the character? It was oatmeal. Oatmeal. Well, what was he? He was a down and out fighter, I guess, who wanted to succeed and protect his family, but...
Well, he gets the shit kicked out of him. That's what happens in this movie. And they pitch him up as to be like this, like pretty great MMA fighter, and he's really good. They say that. They're like, oh man, like it's going to be a walk in the park for you, blah, 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 basically at the beginning of the movie. And then he gets his ass handed to him. And then for the rest of the movie, he gets his ass handed to him.
Yes.
And then he gets this power, which was like kind of goofy looking. I like the little sword thing that he has like coming out of his hands, but it's like this bracelet gives him like this gold armor that's kind of like Black Panther-y in the way that absorbs damage. And then he just doesn't, I don't know. He's not even contributing to the final fight with Sub-Zero and Scorpion.
No. Why didn't he just become like the new Scorpion? Because that's like that's a theme in the franchise, right? Sub-Zero dies in the first game, right? The character Sub-Zero, and comes back, his son or his brother takes over the role of Sub-Zero. So that's like a thing in the game for like relatives to take over the role. And I was like, oh, he's the ancestor Scorpion. He's going to be the new Scorpion. No, he got a new power that didn't make a lot of sense. Completely unsatisfying.
Well, I've heard them talk about like the reasoning behind that armor. And it was just like, oh yeah, that thread of protection or whatever that girl gave him in the beginning, it's like his power is to protect his family and blah blah blah. I'm like, okay, like on paper I get it, but like it doesn't come through. And they keep foreshadowing he's going to become Scorpion in the movie. They literally do that.
Yes.
Like he looks at the mirror, he sees an image of Scorpion, and that happens a couple times. He's given Scorpion's like dagger. You're like, okay, you're going to become Scorpion. None of that happens.
Yeah, it's just like an improv, right? Like less is more. Like if you set something up, satisfy that. Putting something new and arbitrary on top of it is not better.
Yeah, he sucks. I like the movie enough that I want to see where they go from here, and hopefully we see a tournament. Like once I accepted how bad the script was in this movie. And I know we shouldn't like really accept that from Hollywood anymore, where it's just like, okay, it's a B movie. Hopefully the violence is good. But that's where I accepted it for this movie, because it's literally the first couple lines. I'm like, oh, it's this movie, isn't it? Damn it. And for the rest of it, I was just like, as long as they give us cool kills, then I'm fine. I guess I'm fine. But no tournament.
No tournament. And honest, like, it doesn't have to be like an Oscar-winning drama. I want to see a goddamn tournament. I want to see some guts, and I want to see a winner. And there was no tournament.
Yep.
Which is the whole game. Liu Kang wins every tournament. Liu Kang didn't win any tournament. I guess there was no tournament, but he also wasn't like the savior. It was now Cole. And I'm like, oh no.
But he's such a weird savior, because like later, because it's like someone equated it to it's like a very Avengers type of thing. Let's get the gang, let's assemble the gang, and we're gonna take down these people because the bad guy Shang Tsung, his plan is to basically have a tournament before the tournament, which is like that's really stupid. Why don't you just have the tournament?
What's the advantage of the pre-tournament tournament with no fans in the stands?
Well, I guess it just becomes where the good guys, because the tournament with the good guys, like someone has to win, and they didn't want to have Sonya and Cole Young fight each other to the death, right? Because there can only be one winner of Mortal Kombat. So in this way, they get to be like, oh, no, the good guys just survive. And that's it, right? So, but I remember the last fight, Cole Young, Sub-Zero freezes everything, including his family. And Cole's just punching ice the entire fight and doesn't throw many punches to Sub-Zero. And later, Scorpion speaks Japanese to Cole. And we haven't even established that Cole can even understand what he's saying.
Yeah, we had fun with that. We're like, we're picturing him to his family. Did you guys get that? That felt important. I'm born in Chicago.
It's wild. Yeah, I don't know, but it looks like they're bringing his character forward. I saw a good tweet the other day where someone said, genuinely, this is one of my favorite movies ever. You played the lead character so well. This movie is second to Shrek.
Oh.
And I love that.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I was so upset with that kid because I know it's a video game. I know it's a silly video game whose pleasure is mostly derived by the insane amount of violence. But there's good stories, good backstories there. And I don't understand why we can't just have that. Why are we inventing other things that are less good? It's already done. It's already written.
The front poster of this movie is Scorpion and Sub-Zero. Give us that. Like, it's like that is the story that I wanted out of this. And we don't get that. And it's too much. Even the rivalry at the very end, when you see them fighting finally, it was just, first of all, I didn't even know that was the last fight, to be honest. I didn't, some people were like, oh, you didn't know? I'm like, no, because it didn't feel like Sub-Zero was the true last boss of this movie. I thought it was going to be Shang Tsung. So when the movie abruptly ends like 5 minutes after, I'm like, I feel cheated.
Yes, absolutely. No, I had to tell Vinny, I'm like, oh no, this is ending. He's like, but the tournament hasn't happened. I'm like, I know. This is clearly it though. This is it. This is the climax.
It's crazy. And we don't even get Shang Tsung, where I know I'm jumping all over the place. A guy who steals souls and turns himself into those people.
One soul. We had one soul and no transformation. So many times I was like, oh, is Kano actually Shang Tsung and he's going to like show up? No, not once.
It's crazy. I wanted him to just, because it would have been like a cool teaser. If you're not going to show him fight at the end, Shang Tsung, like the big bad, then have him turn into the person that he stole the soul from. That's cool. They don't do that.
Yeah, again, they traded in a good movie for trying to set up a franchise. And I wanted to see a movie, not a preview.
Yeah, and I also wanted to see more violence because like as the movie progresses, it starts to taper off. Like there's a lot of exposition, a lot of just once they hit that training facility, that temple that you're talking about to unlock their arcana, then the movie just like slows down a lot. You know,
and the violence was very shocking when it showed up because it was like just kicking and then just someone's being sliced in half.
Yeah. Okay. So some parts that I did like. So when we have Jax, famously in the video games, he has metal arms. Before he has metal arms, robot arms, Sub-Zero freezes his arms and rips them off. And I'm like, that's fucking cool. I want more of that.
When that was happening, I was like, uh-oh, Jax has arms. Something's going to happen.
Yeah. Or even like he shoots like, tries to shoot a bullet or some big shotgun to Sub-Zero and he freezes. A lot of cool stuff in this movie. It's just freezing stuff.
Yes. Like the freezing stuff looked great.
It looked good. And then we get things like Kano. Let's talk about Kano.
Yeah. What can you say about Kano? I mean, he's always gross and comic relief. I mean, he did actually make me laugh sometimes, which was a nice levity compared to how sunken I felt over my disappointment. So yeah, I think he got too much screen time. He's not the most interesting character.
He got a lot, like
Yeah.
a ton. And he is a person who they wanted it to be, you love to hate kind of thing.
Mhm.
And to me, he kind of like, I see what they're going for. Sometimes he made me like kind of chuckle a little bit, but sometimes I'm like, man, he's really like a piece of shit, like
Yeah.
irredeemable, you know? It's just misogynistic. He's racist. He's all the bad things wrapped into one
Mhm.
character. And I was relieved when they killed him. So
But even that was disappointing because, like, in the game, in the first movie, Sonya and Kano are like arch nemesis, and it's because of Kano that she even gets sucked into the tournament in the first movie because she's so obsessed with killing him. And like, that's a interesting want and drive for a character. Your drive to sort of hate him. And in this movie, that didn't seem as important to her. And then when it came time when they were divvying out the villains, she was like, "Give me Melina." And I was like, "What?"
yeah, it's like, why? What are
Your
you doing?
arch nemesis, duh.
That that when they said that, because Raiden he teleports everyone to like their own Mortal Kombat like arena, which I was like, okay, here we go, we got like that bridge, we got the thing. I want to see someone
All the
uppercut
levels, yeah.
uppercut into the spike pit, which never happens. Like they teased me.
Yeah, which is almost worse because it's like they knew these things existed and they made an active choice to not satisfy them.
Why didn't they uppercut? Because like the kid literally says at the beginning of the movie, uppercut,
Yes.
uppercut, no uppercut, which is a classic Mortal Kombat move.
That would have been amazing to see. Uppercut into the next level.
Into the next level, or that guy that comes at the bottom of the screen that goes toasty, like that would have been amazing.
Yeah, lean into it. Lean into the video game more.
Because they did that a few times where and again, it's more of like for the
Fatality.
fans where someone would just say, yeah, fatality, flawless victory, Kano wins. Like so many stupid things, which I actually laughed at because that's the type of stupidity that should like permeate the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a tough thing. Let's see. And then let's talk about like the new thing introduced in the movie, Arcana, like the idea of getting your superpowers through Arcana. What did you think about that?
I mean, I guess does it make more sense to just have this thing passed on the better fighter? I guess it makes sense in a way for how can we, because what is the space between Mortal Kombat tournaments? I was trying to figure that out. Is it like 500 Earth years, 100 Earth years? I don't know.
No
like,
idea.
how do you figure out who's going to be the next champions? So I thought that you give your 10 best fighters tattoos, and over the generations, whoever kills who, will pass it on. I'm like, okay, that I guess makes sense.
Yeah.
But then Sonya Blade, why is she even here the whole time?
Why is she even there? And then she gets powers at the end that you see once. It's like, because in the video game, none of this Arcana stuff even exists. It's kind of like, here are a bunch of fighters from all walks of life on planet Earth who just happen to have these crazy cool abilities, which I kind of liked. There's a mystery to it. It's like, okay, Earth's kind of a crazy place. But in this one, it's a very like, you are the chosen. You are an Avenger. And if you kill somebody, then you get the superpowers and stuff like that. And I'm like, okay, it's an interesting way to do it. And I don't exactly hate it, but I don't know why it's there. Because mostly I hate it because it takes up so much time in the movie.
Yes, exactly. Because again, we're here to see a fighting movie. You tell me Raiden just finds you're a good fighter. You're going to this tournament. Done. I'm happy. I don't care. He's a god. He knows who's a good fighter.
Yeah.
Don't need it. Didn't need it.
Because then we can see more time for Liu Kang doing stuff,
Liu Kang.
I will say though, at first I was watching this as a watch party kind of thing. I was like, wow, Ludi Lin, like I recognize him from some stuff, but like he's too scrawny and it's too baggy clothes. And then he takes his shirt off and he's fucking ripped. And I'm like, I take it back.
And he looked so young to me. And I was like, whoa, he is sinewy.
It's no body fat whatsoever, pure muscle. And it's just ridiculous. He is so veiny when he's just full on Liu Kang.
I think at that point in the movie, when he took his shirt off, we were at that moment eating donuts, and Vinny was like, "Yeah, he doesn't eat donuts."
No, it was insane. And then like he still loses some fights too. I'm like, no, Liu Kang would not lose.
I know, and I liked that. He's our Luke Skywalker. He's the hero. He's the savior. I didn't like that he lost that role.
Yeah, he felt like he should still do, and he does do some cool shit later. Like when he does like his big dragon fireball fatality,
Yes.
like that was cool.
And the fire looked great. I thought every time his little hands had fire on them, I'm like, yes, Liu Kang.
Yeah, and he was using fire for random stuff too, like let me keep you warm to like the little kid and stuff like that. I was like, okay, all right, Liu Kang would probably do that.
Yeah, he's a good guy.
But when he did the bicycle kick, he didn't do the like. I guess it's kind of racy the way they did it in the Mortal Kombat games, where they're like, but I wanted to hear them say that.
Yeah, it looked sloppy too to me, because in the video game, it's very sort of
horizontal,
geometrically perfect. And here, I guess, it's more realistic. But I was like, makes me feel like he's less skilled.
Yeah, and because he does this, it's a really long bicycle kick in the video game too. Like it lasts too long for any human to do in real life. And then in this one, like still, it's like no one can actually do it, but it looked too real, and I don't want that.
Yeah.
And we also get like characters Kung Lao, which I think needs a shout out too, even though the acting was also bad for Kung Lao. But there gives me the best part of this movie, this one scene where Kung Lao's fighting this random character. I don't even know her name.
Yeah, same.
And he does the most Mortal Kombat ass kill I've seen in the entire movie. Do you want to describe it?
Well, he has his hat in the ground spinning, his blade hat set up like a saw, whatever saw that is.
Like a buzzsaw.
Buzzsaw, there we go. And then this creature comes flying at him and severs themselves along like a mid-sagittal plane. Just completely cuts themselves. And it was like you saw it coming, but I didn't think I'd see quite that much anatomically correct insides.
Oh my God.
Disgusting.
It was disgusting and gnarly and awesome.
It was
fantastic. That's what I wanted.
But that's another character I felt was done dirty. He's the one soul that gets sucked. He's, of all the characters' backstories, he's the most easy to argue should be the hero of it, right? He comes directly from the past human winner of the last Mortal Kombat tournament.
Yeah, I don't know if they like take that into account in this movie, because they're like, oh, Liu Kang, Kung Lao, cousins. What else? Nothing else. No other backstory. And he riles up Kano at one point. But yeah, like not much. But anytime he used his hat, I was pumped. And he was like going through the ground and stuff. I'm like, that's cool. That's Mortal Kombat to me. And yeah, I would say that was the climax in terms of how like pumped up I felt in terms of the action. Because the movie was falling off for me a little bit, even though I was like, I'm just waiting for something cool to happen. And then it did. And I'm like, okay, give me a little more boost of adrenaline. And then they flub up the ending here. And we get like Goro later in the movie, who's like a huge, big bad in the games. Done dirty.
Yep. The only reason Cole beat him was because of Cole's non-fighter wife. Again, helped in another battle, because Cole can't kill anyone on his own.
I feel like you could have made Goro the entire like, if you wanted to have like a sub bad guy, then Goro could have been one of them.
In the first movie, which I argue is just so many leagues better than this one, yeah, he's the second to biggest bad, and that is a good fight, and he is, he puts up a fight.
Does he talk in the original? Yeah, he does, right?
Yeah, he does. And we get a sweet animatronic puppet. It's great.
Because in this one, he's just like, roar, roar. And he kind of looks like
Hulk.
Hulk a little bit. I was going to say he looks like an orc from like the Hobbit movies, but not the Lord of the Rings movie when they CG the orcs, that kind of stuff. Warcraft, that type of thing.
Yeah, bad CGI. At first, he looks huge, too, when they show his shadow. And I'm like, oh, this is going to be good. He's like Godzilla. And then he's like 10 feet tall.
Yeah, he's not that big. It's not that big.
No.
And then we get like a bunch of different characters. And this is like, I'm okay with them killing stuff because they need to. And if they wanted to go even goofier, I would have loved it was the best 2 out of 3. Just like randomly someone dies violently and then comes back to life. That would, to me, would have been stupid and phenomenal. But here you get introduced to like big characters in the video games, and then characters that I don't recognize because I also haven't played all the Mortal Kombat games, that they say for a second and then just off right away. Cabal. Yeah. For example.
Yeah, Cabal, I remember him being a good character too. And they mentioned his backstory, but like we didn't need that. Like I just feel overall less characters and more time on them is almost always the better way to go. But then that other bad guy who had like the big hammer, I don't remember him.
I don't know who that
what about
is.
Baraka, or there's so many other bad guys that are more. But I guess maybe, yeah.
They're saving them. They're saving them for another movie, which is
that might not happen now.
No, I think it will because it made a lot of money. This movie,
did it? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, for like a digital at home, and then it was in theaters as well. It beat Godzilla, and Godzilla made a ton of money too.
Okay.
Yeah, and so there's an appetite for people wanting to see Mortal Kombat, and again, like because I'm a dummy and I like Mortal Kombat. Even though I think there's problems with this movie, I'd probably go watch another one.
Oh, I will watch every Mortal Kombat movie they make.
Let's make that clear. I just want them to make a good movie as well.
Because there is good backstory. There's good characters. There's reasons for these rivalries. And then a tournament, that's such a simple, it seems like such a simple thing to do. An obvious climax, the last fight in the tournament. Like why? And the first movie did do that. It just was a bad movie.
Yeah. Yeah. It's true. But a better script, perhaps, just spent more time working on their lines, perhaps. And again, the fighting has to be, just show it to us.
I am fine with bad acting, but for God's sakes, let me see some good fighting then.
Yeah.
Right? Just hire fighters who can't act very well. I'm fine with that. I don't need the lines to sound good, but
so
I want to see it.
That's the weird thing is a lot of these people, especially the Asian actors, are trained fighters. And maybe they don't have like certain styles that like are classic kung fu type of thing. But like the guy who plays Scorpion and the guy who plays Sub-Zero, fighters. And you can see that when they're doing their like action. It's amazing. Louis Tan, Cole Young, that guy, even though he's a terrible character, that guy can fight. Ludi Lin, the guy who plays Liu Kang, also can fight. We just, the choreography just seems to lose it as the movie goes on.
Yeah, and I wonder why is that? Is it because they want to incorporate so much CGI and stuff that sort of interrupted the flow of having continuous fights? Or is it just a choice to make it all, shaky and cutty to make it look cooler? But it never works. I'd rather just see some wide angle whole fighting that's just kicking, no floating stuff.
Yeah. I would like give us like a little bit less like ice, and the ice looked great in this movie, but give us like way more kicks and then the occasional ice, and I would have been like, oh, this is so much better. A
tasteful use of ice.
But tasteful use, yeah. And I will say, like when Scorpion comes at the end, and like now I'm glad, like it doesn't make story sense that this guy comes back as Scorpion, and it should be Cole, but I'm glad that Cole didn't become Scorpion because he sucks.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, like I hope they follow through with the story, because like this happens in the, dare I say, Mortal Kombat canon. So it'll be interesting. And then the relationship changes. I don't want to give you spoilers, but it would be interesting they followed that through.
Oh, give us spoilers. Give the people spoilers while you're here. Do it.
Well, so like that's what happens. Sub-Zero kills Scorpion's family. Scorpion goes to hell, comes back from hell with his Scorpion powers, and kills Sub-Zero for vengeance. But then Sub-Zero's brother takes over the role of Sub-Zero to avenge his brother's death. Mm-hmm. And the first Sub-Zero actually comes back as Noob Saibot.
Noob Saibot, yes.
So that's the first Scorpion.
What a dumb name. I love it.
Because it's the creator's names backwards.
Yeah.
And so this second Scorpion, the second Sub-Zero, when trying to avenge his death, Scorpion finds out that is the brother, and he promises to like defend him. Because there's other story where Scorpion thinks actually it isn't Sub-Zero that kills his family, it's someone else. And he was told Sub-Zero killed his family. So he sort of feels guilty about having killed him when it was someone else's actually directly killing them. And so he promises to defend the new Sub-Zero. And so they become sort of reluctant friends.
Wow. That's what that's what they're setting up. You know, they're doing it. That's what they're doing.
I hope. I don't know that that's what they're doing.
It's true. It's going to be like Cole and Shang Tsung are friends at the end and they're holding hands.
He turns him into good. He becomes like a step-in grandfather to his
Oh my
child.
God. If there's a scene where Shang Tsung gives back the soul of Kung Lao, I'm going to turn off the TV because he's just supposed to be a bad guy. I just want a bad guy.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
What was I going to say? I forget. Scorpion. Oh, yes. So when he says get over here, did it satisfy that part of you?
I was already so sad at that point. It was, I was happy to hear it. I was waiting for it. It wasn't enough. Yeah.
Because even when he took off his like mask through his like flame thing, I was like, that's pretty cool too. But it just gets undermined because I didn't know that was the climax of the movie.
Yeah. It is very shocking because the whole time you're not looking at the time. You're like, there's going to be a tournament. That's how I'm going to know we're getting to the climax, right? It's going to be the final fight of a tournament, but it never happens. So you're just sort of in limbo, wondering where you are in this story.
Yeah. Yeah. And did you feel, because they never fully, we had a bet when we were doing the watch party of when the theme song would happen. And they don't fully give it to us until the credits.
Yeah, they did like a bit. One of the songs during the climax was sort of a remix of it.
Just like a second of it.
Yeah.
But I wanted to hear Mortal Kombat.
That theme song is badass. I used to have that like on playlists and legitimately listen to it to get amped. It was on my running playlist for decades. Yeah, it's a great song.
It's a great song. I actually listened to it like yesterday because I was like, oh, I'm going to do the Mortal Kombat podcast. And I put it on. I'm like, holy shit, this song is it just makes you so pumped.
Yes, it bangs. And then I love how there's just a list of the characters.
I know. It reminds me of the Pokemon rap kind of thing of just like listing every single Pokemon, but in Mortal Kombat style where they're like Sonya, Jax, Scorpion. And it's so boring if you hear just the words, but because they have like that synthy freaking banger in the background, it just sounds epic.
Yeah, it's classic. And nothing in this. It was interesting during some of the fights, they had very video gamey sounding music, which I thought was interesting, but nothing was as good as that. Like, just put it at the beginning. I would have been happy with that.
It's true. The soundtrack I thought was pretty good throughout the thing, but you're right. You're just waiting for the iconic dun, 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 dun. It just, oh, I'm getting shivers thinking about it. We're talking about the wrong movie here.
I'm telling you, Mortal Kombat 1995, classic.
Yeah, I know. I think I'm going to go back and watch that one just to do a little bit of a comparison. And then at the end of that movie, I'm going to be like, well, you know what? That movie was good, but they didn't have Cole Young in it.
If you legitimately feel that way, we'll have to talk again.
Cole Young. You know they're going to put him in the video games later too, and they're going to make him badass and stuff. I heard that it's not his final form though. They're teasing it out. Again, one of these franchise stupid things that like focus on one movie, but apparently it's not his final costume.
Does he deserve a better one? That's sort of how I feel.
Like, what do you want that costume to look like?
He's fully enwrapped with this mummy wrap.
Yeah, that's what I want. Because otherwise, it looks like he's wearing a yellow shirt. That's what his costume looks like.
Stitched together.
Yeah, it doesn't look good. Doesn't look good.
It didn't look good.
Katie, we're at the end of our talk about Mortal Kombat. Final thoughts.
I mean, if you love the video game, you love violence, you don't have big expectations, I'd recommend watching it. What the hell? I don't regret watching it. I just, I have such high hopes, and maybe the next one will nail it. You never know.
I feel the same. I had pretty high hopes. I do this to myself all the time. And I just thought like this one could be just stand out from like all the bad video game movies out there.
Yeah.
But just from the trailers and from what I've seen, it just seemed like they really understood these characters, and I was wrong, and it hurts me that I was wrong. And I should have known, because they invented a stupid character for this that didn't need to exist. And I'm hopeful that the next movie will be better and they'll give us the tournament. But because this movie was so successful, they're going to have the same directors and script writers and stuff like that. And I hope they spend more time on these characters. Because like you've said, Katie, there is something good here. The rich backstory of Mortal Kombat, there is something here. Maybe just replace all the actors with some new ones and keep Sub-Zero and Scorpion.
Yeah, exactly. Just if you can't find good actors who can fight, just get good fighters, and I'll accept the bad acting, but not neither.
Not neither, exactly. Oh, Sonya's acting. Don't get me started. She's so bad.
Oh my gosh, so bad. Bring back Pete Sampras's wife. Let's replace the first one.
And they kill Reptile in this movie, and he doesn't even get to wear a ninja costume.
And they show excessive smoke, but not the character smoke.
All right, we got to stop talking about this. I'm getting mad thinking about it.
Just listen to the song again. Okay,
all right. Katie, how would you rate this movie on your own scale?
I would rate it 6 out of 10 babalities.
Okay, if we get a babality in the next one, I'll be pretty fucking pumped. Or animality. Oh, imagine they end the entire series with the friendship fatality.
Yes. With Shang Tsung, that's how they become friends.
Okay, I'll accept that if you get this giant thing that says friendship on top of it and not finish him. Anyways. All right, that's our talk about Mortal Kombat. I would rate this movie a -1 Cole Young, because that's what I want in the next movie.
Just don't even explain it. Just we'll be okay with it.
Oh, God. Katie, thank you so much for being on Talking Tongue today.
Thank you for having me. This was a delight. Even though the movie wasn't, this talk was a delight.
You know what? I secretly still love shitting on movies too, even though I want to like them. So like, compared to like other movies that I've seen for Talking Tongue, where it's just like completely boring and stuff like that, this movie, I want to like it. There's some cool parts and it's fun to shit on it. So it's still fun.
Yeah. I had fun. I had fun in this movie. That's a good point.
I'd watch it again, even because I'm a dummy. So, all right, Katie, do you have anything to plug for the people at home?
Yeah. So along with Vinny, I help produce The Backdrop, which is a bi-weekly online improv show. It's free. You can find out the schedule, I suppose, future shows. Just look up improvcollege.ca. All the details are there. And I guess that's it for me.
Amazing. And you can find the rest of the shows in the Pod Cavern at www.podcavern.com. Check out all the cool shows there. All right, we are out of here. We'll see you guys on another episode of Talking Tongue next week. Until then, Katie has a world famous catchphrase.
Well, if ever you're going to do a podcast, pest your mic.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.